This short video is an overview of the mug forms I've been focusing on in recent months. I make a majority of my mugs from 450 grams of soft wedged clay. Wedging is the process of homogenizing the clay, working firmer and softer sections together, eliminating air bubbles, and aligning the microscopic grains of clay into the same direction. Once wedged and weighed out, the lump of clay is firmly slammed against the wheel head. The clay is then wetted and centered on the wheel. I then steadily draw the clay out, establishing the interior diameter of the pot. I then run my thumb along the base, compressing it to discourage cracks from forming as the pot dries. I use the knuckle of my right index finger to apply pressure at the lowest point in the clay, creating a groove that I begin to slowly lift, following it as it travels up the height of the wall. The fingers of my left hand apply pressure from the inside, offset just above where my right hand contacts the clay from the outside. The gap left between my hands must remain consistent, as does the speed at which I'm lifting the clay. Varying either will introduce an inconsistency in the wall's thickness, which becomes more exaggerated with each consecutive pull, risking a wobbly rim or a thin spot that could cause the vessel to buckle. With the pot thrown to the appropriate height and shape, I can start cleaning it up a bit. I first remove the skirt of clay from the bottom of the pot with a pointed trimming tool, then scrape the slip from the outer walls with a metal kidney. A soft chamois leather bevels the rim, and the mug is wired off and lightly plucked from the wheel with freshly dried hands. After a few days drying in a closed cupboard, the clay is now leather hard and ready for trimming. I brush a thin skim of slip on the wheel head, upon which I tap center the mug. This slip adheres the mug to the wheel as it dries, holding it in place while I trim. I'm trying a few surface features in this batch of mugs. Grooves in some, raised ridges in others. This gives the glaze something to interact with, pooling in grooves and breaking thin on sharper edges. Each section is burnished, a metal kidney for the flat planes, various silicone-tipped styluses for the hard-to-reach sections, such as these grooves or raised ridges that I'm leaving. To trim the bottom of the pot, I place the upturned mug onto a solid clay chuck, tap centering it once more, and pinning the pot in place with a bit of downward pressure. A good foot ring is important. It defines a starting point for the vertical space commanded by the piece, and it provides a convenient, clean line to delineate the glazed and unglazed portions of the mug. The final major step before the mug can be left to dry is to create and attach a handle. I pull individual handle blanks from a single mass of clay, attach the blank to the mug, then further pull the handle, refining the shape by constricting the strip of clay between my right thumb and index finger. Once tidied up, I leave the mug to dry slowly over the course of several weeks until it reaches the state of bone dry. The next step is to bisque fire the mug to 1000 degrees Celsius, which burns off impurities and transforms the clay into a light, porous ceramic ready for glazing. Before glazing, I apply a wax resist to the bottom of the pot. Glaze won't adhere to the waxed portion as much, meaning I can fully immerse the mug into the liquid glaze, allowing a very even layer of fine particles to settle on the surface of the mug. I prefer a glaze with very little movement. allowing me to glaze the entire vertical surface of the form. If the glaze runs, becoming too fluid at peak firing temperatures, it can leave a pool of glass, fusing the pot to the kiln shelf, ruining the piece, and even worse, damaging the shelf. A single small drip can be managed though, particularly if I have propped the pot up a bit from the shelf with wadding and applied kiln wash to the shelf. Another firing later, and the mug is finished. This final hotter firing transforms the relatively soft, porous ceramic material into a dense, strong, vitrified form coated in a thin layer of glassy glaze. Near the conclusion of this last firing, molten glaze has a consistency like honey. In this liquid state, surface tension pulls the glaze away from sharper lines and pools it in crevices, capitalizing on the features I carved into the mugs while trimming. The handle, with impressed ridges running along its length, tends to show the best attributes of the glaze. I hope you've enjoyed this short video essay. I'll be making more like it, so keep an eye out in the future if this is up your alley. I sometimes sell the things I make. If you Google Misty River Pottery, you'll probably find something, or you can just click the link in the video description to be conveniently shuttled to my website. Thanks for watching. Cheers.